Hi guys, in today's session I'm going to talk about WATs, very very important round for the second stage of selection in a B school. I know pandemic times hai, and there is a big question mark on whether WATs will be conducted and how, if indeed they are conducted, how will they be conducted. But for now, let's keep those questions apart. Assume that WATs are a process that are going to happen. So I think one of the most important questions that we'll try and answer in this video is how exactly is the WAT evaluated? What are the parameters that are used, right? Something that should really play on your mind because it will help you plan, the WAT itself much better. My name is Anand Venkateshan. I'm an educator with Unacademy. As you can see, I have done my engineering from BIT and then went on to do my postgrad from IIM Bangalore. For the past decade or so, I've trained students through these processes, both written as well as the second stage. So I think I know what I'm talking about. Before I go ahead into today's agenda, quick note: do follow us on YouTube. Cat for MBA is the channel, Unacademy Cat for MBA, and we also have a Telegram channel. I think you can keep abreast with all our free lectures, free courses on the YouTube channel as well as our Unacademy app. Just follow the handle Cat for MBA. Right, so let's get right into it. What do we know about the WAT already? Well, we know that it's literally an essay writing round. एक topic दिया जाता है. You're supposed to write an essay on it. Yeah, sounds pretty easy, right? How important is it? Well, 10 to 20% is the weightage across various colleges, across different IIMs, right? So it varies, but yeah, 10%, 20% sounds pretty important. Number two, how long is it? How much time is it given? Well, I think the thumb rule is about 20 minutes or so. IIM Bangalore, which should be one of the bigger WAT rounds, gives about 30 minutes for the WAT. So you should be prepared for something which is as short as 20, but the process remains the same as the time increases, only that you're expected to write more. If I give you half an hour vis-a-vis 20 minutes, then the expectation will go up only in terms of the number of words, number of lines that you would put down. So a 20-minute benchmark in terms of the length, in terms of how much you need to write, is about 25 to 30, right? Sounds fair enough, right? Obviously, this goes with the assumption that you're writing about 15 to 20 words in every line, right? So we're talking about roughly a 400 word essay in about 20 minutes, 300 to 400 words in about 20 minutes, right? 25 lines, 10, maybe 15 words in a line. Yeah, that's how much it will work out to. Okay, so this is what we already know, but exactly what does the WAT test, right? Well, is it testing my knowledge? Is it going to be testing my writing skills? Am I supposed to be fancy with my vocabulary? Do I need to write a quotation in it? Right? So many questions, so many confusing, conflicting viewpoints on display here. So don't worry, I'm going to make it all clear to you, right? Well, I spoke to many panelists across various IIMs. In fact, I have also spoken to people who have gone through the process, not just in India, but for even foreign universities, right? And there's something which is very common across essay writing rounds, and that's what I'm going to share with you, right? So first and foremost, I think the parameter that you need to be clear about is that when you're given a topic, right, then the first and foremost expectation out of you is that you stay on point, right? It sounds fair enough, right? If I give you a topic, if the topic is about Indo-China relationship, right, then you'd rather talk only about India and its trade, maybe its conflicts or wars that we fought with China, maybe cultural comparison of India and China, right? But obviously I need to restrict within the topic itself, which is India versus China. But when I talk about scope, right, now this becomes interesting, because even though the topic might say Indo-China relationships, maybe it says diplomacy, right, but I obviously have the ability to expand the scope. I can probably think, hey, are we talking only about defense and military misadventures between the two countries? Maybe I go into the past. Maybe I talk about how our cultures evolved in the past, right? Way back when civilization came about, You could talk about other aspects is what I'm trying to drive at. I'm not gonna, go into detail on any specific point here, but I think, my role here is to tell you is that the scope can be as wide or as narrow as you choose for it to be, but make sure that you clarify it in the essay. It's always a very good idea to begin the essay with a clear definition of its scope, right? My essay or this essay, actually avoid using first person pronouns. So don't say my essay. Instead, say this essay analyzes this particular topic from a historical point of view and will look at A, B, C aspects, right? So always a good idea to make that specific, right? It's very professional. It also is very direct, and it also shows that you have a very structured process of thinking. Number two, the moderator, the person who's evaluating your essay, will definitely look at what kind of reasoning have you employed, right? If you're making, remember, the essay is mainly about the one or two, maybe the third three arguments that you make in your essay. But what they look for is not what your stance is, right? They don't really bother with your stance. They don't really care whether you are for the topic or against the topic. But what they will look for is the logical consistency in your arguments, right? And the kind of analysis that you perform, right? Given any data or information or assumptions that you make, right? So I think you need to make sure that your arguments are well reasoned, hence critical reasoning. If you haven't already done it, I would really advise you to go and go over the basics of critical reasoning, how to build an argument, how to make sure that your premise or your assumptions are all logical, or to make sure that your facts are in line, and hence the conclusion that you're drawing is in line with the assumptions and the facts that you already know, right? So make sure that all of those basics are in place and your arguments are well constructed and well reasoned, right? So second parameter that's evaluated: one, how much and how wide a scope or how narrow a scope you take. Number two, within that scope, what are the arguments and are they logical, are they reasoned, are they well analyzed, well thought out, right? Number three, basis or the knowledge. Obviously, when I talk about reasoning, the basic pillar of reasoning is fact, is knowledge, is your content, right? So they will definitely evaluate on this basis. But I think this needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, because it's not as if the purpose of the WAT is to check whether you know enough about a topic or not. Absolutely not. The panel is not testing your knowledge of a particular event. It is actually testing your perception of that event, right? So more often than not, it will probably give you a topic which you already know or are expected to know at the very least, right? So nothing out of the ordinary, nothing which is very, very niche or specific to a particular area. But still, I mean, this topic could fall under many, let's say, categories. So we're talking about, topics which can be on politics. It could be a topic on education. It could be a topic on policy making. It could be a topic on some current affairs within the Indian domain or even the international domain. It could be about environment, technology. The sky is the limit as far as what gets tested, right? But you don't need to know everything. But the basis that you use to construct the arguments needs to be correct, right? Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it does not matter if you don't know anything about the topic, right? If you don't know anything, please be upfront about it. Make sure that whatever data or knowledge you're using or assumptions you're making, you state your assumptions, right? You state that while I might not know, right? While the exact figures remain unknown, here is a very logical assumption for what those numbers could be like, right? So state those assumptions right up front. Don't make mistakes on fact, right? That's going to be really poor on your part. All right. Number four, and probably the most important aspect in a WAT, is its structure, right? Well, I will talk about structure, in detail, but I mean, in fact, there is not much to talk about in detail, right? Structure is important, but then again, it should not be complicated. I mean, if you have a too complicated a structure, then you are likely to waste time on it, right? So I think the simplest thing, and that's something that's very widely accepted in essays, is that you follow the structure of introduction, body, conclusion. That's it, right? Have a clear paragraph that introduces the topic, introduces your stance, maybe introduces the scope of your essay, right? Not necessary to begin it with a quote, but if you can, that would be part of your introduction, right? Cut to your body of the essay. Body is where you list out your main arguments. Ideally, 2 to 3 paragraphs listing out 2 to 3 arguments, right? One argument in one paragraph, maybe about 5 to 6 lines, not more than that, right? But remember, in 5 to 6 lines or maybe a little more, you want to explore the depth of that particular argument, right? Make sure that you explore it fully. Many people ask me, is it better to write 4 points, but only write it on, mention them on the surface, or is it better to cut it down to 2, but discuss 2 points in detail? No questions asked. It's always better to go into detail. It's always better to explore a particular aspect or facet in detail, because sure, it just is more credible. It adds more value as a reader. It will create greater impact on my mind and convince me better, right? So that's about structure. But in structure, make sure that your essay also flows very logically. Oh, I forgot the third component of structure. Having written the 2 or 3 arguments in the body of your essay, make sure that you conclude the essay. I cannot overstate or the importance of the conclusion. Most essays, by the way, and here's some data for you, maybe 3 in 10 essays that get written, even at the institute level, specifically maybe at a practice level, 3 out of 10 essays are left incomplete, right? Which means there's a good 30% chance that somebody who's evaluating your essays looks at it and says, hey, this guy didn't even manage to finish the essay, right? That speaks poorly about you, right? So make sure that you manage your time and you follow the entire structure and close it out in the end, number one. Number two, make sure that your essay has a good flow, right? That even before I read it, I should know what every paragraph stands for, right? Maybe not before reading it, but once I read it, I should know the purpose of every single paragraph in the essay, right? That is what forms a good flow of ideas in your essay. And obviously when you're writing, making points, making arguments in an essay, the tendency sometimes is to go overboard, is to write in flamboyant English, is to have long, complicated arguments that you're making. Well, avoid them at all costs, because I think the simpler your essay is, simpler and shorter and more precise your arguments are, the better it will be, right? You don't want him to reread any portion of your essay because it's written into complicated a language, right? Make it simple for him or her, and make sure that your sentences are clearly communicating the idea and doing so in as short a manner as possible. Do not have, right, thumb rule, any idea or argument that you're presenting that in a line that goes beyond 2 lines, right? If a sentence goes beyond 2 lines, make sure that you cut it short, right? So that's about clarity. And finally, this is the most important point of language and grammar, right? Now, language and grammar is evaluated, but then remember, this is a filter for not for what is good, but for what is bad, right? What would look poor on you is to write an essay which has incorrect vocabulary or wrong grammar, right? If it is grammatically incorrect, it's going to reflect poor on you. So avoid grammatical mistakes. If you use words that are either misspelt or are irrelevant in the essay, then that's going to reflect poorly on you, right? So don't worry about writing big words or having complicated sentence structures. That's absolutely something you should avoid. But please also avoid mistakes of grammar and language, right? So that's in a sense, it leaves a poor impression on the reader, and that's something that you would also like to avoid, right? But if you ask me, I think the most important parameters here will be the scope and how well you sort of imagine the scope or expand different aspects of the topic. Number 2, how well your arguments are reasoned. Number 3, how well it's structured in the essay. And 4, how clear are your ideas, right? I think these are the 4 main parameters. but to a lesser extent, it does check your, basis or knowledge. It also checks your grammar and communication, right? Well, I hope that helps you plan your WATs better. But last year, in CAT 2020 this year, we've had some fabulous results. Our students, came out and scored 99 percentile diamond by the dozen. And indeed, if you're watching this video, you could be somebody who does this next year, right? Unacademy has offerings that, that pretty much guarantee everything that you need to prepare in the comfort of your home, right? Which means the best of educators, batches which start almost every, multiple batches in fact that start every week. Plenty of tests and practice, especially practice that is adaptive, through the Unacademy app, right? Trial sessions in the form of special classes and personal coaches which come with the iconic offering, right? So pretty much everything you need. Yeah. The only difference is that there are two kinds of products you can buy. One is Plus, which is like the main household product as far as household subscription, as far as Unacademy goes, gives you access to batches and educators. You can join a group and start learning with those educators who are running that batch. However, Iconic goes one step further. It gives you a personal coach, right? Which means there's somebody that acts as your mentor throughout the preparation, helps you plan your activities throughout maybe weeks and months, how to take tests, when to take tests, how to analyze your performance, maybe gives you specific ideas to course correct and improve, right? So a personal coach is something that you get with Iconic. These are some of the batches that have started this week. You can see, almost 3 batches specifically tailored for the CAT exam, but also batches that start this week, gearing up for the CMAT exam as well as the GDPI round that's happening at the IIMs, right? So plenty to look forward to on the app. I talked about Plus and Iconic. Here are the subscription plans. You can see Plus is a very, very value added, value for money kind of offering, right? Even the 1-year plan is very, very reasonably priced. And Iconic, while it does charge a premium, I think that premium is well deserved. If you want a personal coach who can monitor your performance and act as your personal guide, I think it should be worth paying and remember, these are people who are graduates of the top B schools in the country, right? So you get somebody who's very experienced, right? Mind you. And last thing, make sure that you use my referral code AV01, because that gives you a 10% discount on any of these subscription plans. Yeah. So what are you waiting for? If you like this video, do click the like button, do share this video and subscribe to our channel. Also keep tabs on our Telegram handle, that's CAT for MBA on Telegram, right? Thank you, have a great day and all the very best.